This video is brought to you by True Tales of Buried Treasure, the largest collection of old treasure magazines in the West. We're pleased to announce that we are now selling our physical magazines directly on our website. You can browse by magazine title or search for a particular issue using the search bar. To pay us a visit, please click the link in the description. Enjoy. The high-pitched whine of the big saw echoed through the nearby woods as the pile of fresh-cut lumber steadily grew. Soon, there would be enough to float down the Tionesta Creek, where it would join the Allegheny River, and journey onward to markets eager for the timber. Cutting through the stillness of the forest with even greater commotion, a locomotive clattered and screeched to a halt in the settlement known as Nebraska. Today, those sounds, the buzzing saws and clanging trains, exist only in memory. In fact, the town of Nebraska has vanished entirely, surviving now only in faded records and history books. The once bustling community is now a ghost town. Only an old iron bridge remains, a silent monument to what once was. While sifting through stacks of old documents, I kept encountering the name Nebraska. Intrigued, I read more, gathering fragments of its history. Before long, I decided to take a short trip to investigate the place myself. It seemed like the perfect spot for a bit of treasure hunting. As I made my way toward the long-lost town, I reviewed its origins. In 1838, a man named John Ford settled at a bend in the Tionesta Creek. Back then, the place was known as Ford Mills. He constructed a water-powered sawmill, and soon a small settlement grew around it. A flour mill and general store followed, and even a hotel was built to host passing travelers. By 1855, the community had grown enough to merit its own post office, and it was then officially renamed Nebraska. In 1870, the land was purchased by Truman Dowd Collins, better known as Teddy Collins, a prominent lumber baron. Collins established his headquarters in Nebraska, triggering a period of rapid growth. Over time, the town flourished. It gained a blacksmith shop, a general store, a company store, 2 barge yards, a sawmill, and a box factory. Collins also built a Methodist church, where nearby residents from Golinza came to worship. This was the golden era of the logging railroads, a time of industry and change. The Nebraska mill continued its operations until 1917. After that, it sat idle for several years, slowly falling into disrepair. Around 1938, it briefly sprang back to life, but only for 2 years. Then came the final blow. Residents were ordered to evacuate the area to make way for the construction of the Tionesta Dam and the flooding it would bring. The Methodist Church in Nebraska held its final public service on September 24, 1939. About 5 months later, the town's post office shut its doors for good. By 1941, the Tionesta Dam was completed. As predicted, when the reservoir reaches high levels, the last relic of the old town, the Iron Bridge, is often swallowed by the rising waters. With thoughts of forgotten history and dreams of discovering something hidden, we set out for Nebraska. As we pulled off the main road and parked at a small turnout, we chose this quiet spot as the starting point for our exploration. We began our search by following the remnants of the old railroad grade to the east. Evidence of the past still lingered. Ornamental shrubs, once carefully planted, now ran wild, mingling with native growth and spilling across the old paths. Along the narrow trail, we spotted a large walnut tree standing off to the left. Curious, we wandered over. The scene told an unmistakable story. Someone had once lived here. Scattered shards of glass lay among the leaves, hinting at the daily lives now lost to time. As I poked through a thick clump of brush, I uncovered the rusted door of an old stove. It was easy to imagine the warm glow of firelight from within, the scent of supper, and a family gathered close on a cold Pennsylvania night. Not far from the walnut tree, I came upon a dried-up spring, its stones still forming a basin, though no water had flowed for years. Just then, my scout, my grandmother, called out. She'd found a foundation hidden in the overgrown brush. I love hearing those words. And sure enough, nestled beneath the vines and leaves were the remains of an old structure. Most of the walls had collapsed, but one doorway still stood, leaning like a sentinel to the past. Judging by its size, multiple doorways, high walls, and a full basement, it had likely been used as a business. Behind the ruins, we discovered several bricks marked with stars, similar to those produced in Starbrick, Pennsylvania, the nearest source for such materials. In 1906, a box factory had been established in Nebraska, reportedly run by a man brought in from Grunderville. Perhaps this building was once part of that enterprise, and the bricks were brought from Starbrick as part of its construction. Among the bricks, we also found scattered fragments of old glass. One shard in particular caught my eye. It had a delicate blue flower pattern that hinted at the beauty it once held. I couldn't help but wish the entire plate had survived the years intact. This area, without a doubt, is a treasure hunter's dream, perfect for coin shooting, bottle digging, cache hunting, you name it. Farther along, we stumbled upon another smaller foundation that appeared to have once been a home. As we explored, our imaginations ran wild with the thought of old coins waiting to be discovered beneath the soil. Returning to the railroad grade, we pressed eastward once again. Before long, we reached the stone piers in the Tionesta Creek, once the base of the bridge that carried the train from Coon Creek. This was part of the old Collins and Watson line. The cut stones remain, standing as silent masterpieces of craftsmanship from the days when logging railroads ruled these hills. I found myself wishing I could have seen that bridge in its prime, with a train rumbling across, pulling loaded cars behind it. Further up the line, where the hillside gently slopes to meet the grade, we came upon a second set of stone bridge supports crossing the creek. This marked our turnaround point, and we retraced our steps back to where we'd started. After reaching the truck, we decided to explore the west side of the old grade, crossing the modern road to do so. Here the brush thickened, interspersed with a variety of nut trees, testimony, perhaps, to the foresight of the settlers who planted them. We didn't venture too far up this path before turning back, but I had the strong sense that continuing onward could uncover even more. Old home sites might still lie hidden beneath the forest's quiet canopy, and who's to say there isn't a cache or two waiting to be found? As I looked around at the scenery, I began to understand why John Ford chose this place back in 1838. He surely saw the practical value, water for his sawmill, and a location ripe for settlement. But standing there, I could feel there was more to it. The landscape was simply beautiful, rolling hills draped in hardwood forest, and the Tionesta Creek winding like a silver ribbon through the valley. If it's this stunning now, I can only imagine what it looked like when Ford first arrived. Years later, Teddy Collins chose to build his home on a hillside overlooking the same bend in the creek. He, too, must have fallen under its spell. After lunch, we strolled down the road and crossed the old iron bridge. Just west of it, a pair of weathered stone piers mark where the original bridge once stood. Today, fishermen cast their lines into the Tionesta Creek from that very spot, enjoying the quiet that now blankets this once bustling area. Boat launches flank both sides of the bridge, and I couldn't help but imagine how fascinating it would be to explore the area by canoe. From the water, old home sites might be easier to spot, and the freedom to move from one bank to the other would certainly help in any serious search. Looking north across the creek, I could almost picture it all. The sawmill humming, the lumberyard bustling with workers, the old Methodist church standing tall beside the company store. In my mind, the streets came alive with people hurrying about, running errands, or waiting eagerly at the station for the train to arrive. These were only visions, of course, ghosts of a time long gone. For a moment, a wave of sadness washed over me, knowing I'd never witnessed the great rafts of lumber drifting down the creek. But that melancholy quickly turned to excitement. After all, Nebraska still held secrets, forgotten treasures just waiting to be found. As the sun dipped lower, it was time to head home. We all agreed this place was definitely worth a return visit. Nebraska had once been a thriving town, and when its people were forced to leave, the buildings may have been torn down, but the coins, jewelry, bottles, and buried caches were left behind. Many of them have remained hidden for over a century, preserved in the soil and silence. Yes, Nebraska is a treasure hunter's dream, and we would be back. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.